Kids are expensive. That's why navigating child support matters in a divorce or custody case can be so overwhelming. Whether you're a parent seeking child support or trying to understand your obligations, this video breaks down everything that you need to know about child support in Florida. My goal here is to make sure you have the basic information that you need so that you can be informed as you start to head into or deal with a child custody or divorce case involving children. In the video, we're going to cover the basics regarding child support. I'll walk you through the Florida child support formula, how it works, show you how it's applied, and then I'm going to leave you with a couple of quick takeaways about some of those other things related to child support that are pretty important to understand as you start down this road. So child support, the key things to understand, these are the building blocks. So what is child support in Florida? In Florida, child support is an amount of money paid from one parent to the other for, in theory, the expenses of the children based on a formula in a statute called Section 6130 of the Florida statutes. How long is child support paid in Florida? In Florida, child support is paid until a child is 18, except that in many situations, the support will be paid after the age of 18 if the child is still in high school and has a likelihood of graduating before their 19th birthday. And in that situation, child support is paid after age 18 until the child graduates high school and in any case must stop before the child's 19th birthday. Also, child support stops in a few other situations, kind of obvious, but child support stops for a child if the child dies. Also, if the child is what's called emancipated, basically gets a court order saying they're free of their parents, then the child support stops also. But generally, for most people, think it's until age 18 or your child gets out of high school if that's after age 18. How much is child support in Florida? The amount of child support is based on a formula set in the Florida statutes. It's sometimes called the Florida Child Support Guidelines. It's in Section 6130. Florida statutes. Keep watching and I'll walk you through how that formula works with a couple of examples. Something to understand is in Florida, child support cannot be waived. Some people think, hey, I'm going through a divorce or we're breaking up and we can just agree not to have child support paid by the other parent. And in almost all cases, the courts will not allow that to happen. The laws are stated to say that child support is a right of the child, and the judges want to make sure, at least in Florida, that a parent is not strong-armed into not getting child support from the other parent. The reason this is so is because judges are partly responsible for making sure that the children don't become the responsibility of the state of Florida and its taxpayers when their parents should be paying for them. Just understand, though, you can't waive child support almost all the time. Talk to an attorney because there are a few exceptions to where you can make that happen. Another concept is equal custody. Equal time sharing does not mean there's no child support. In Florida, the child support formula does take into account the amount of overnights that parents have with their children, and it's becoming more and more common based on the new law changes that parents have equal time after the divorce. But just because the time is equal does not mean there's no child support. Other factors like the income of each party and who's paying for certain expenses like childcare and insurance play a part, and in almost all cases, even when there are equal overnights with each parent, there is still going to be child support paid. Let me try to simplify how the Florida child support formula works. So what are the main components of the child support formula in Florida? The main drivers of child support based on the state formula are the income of each parent, the number of overnights each parent has with the child, and who pays for child care and health insurance and how much those amounts are. Those are the main drivers of the Florida child support formula amount for child support. I get asked a lot, what amount of income is used for each parent in the Florida child support formula? Well, the starting point is the income that each parent is currently making. But you have a lot of situations to where a parent is underemployed or they're not working to the best use of their education and credentials. And in those cases, the courts, with the right proof, can make the parent's income equal to what they could be making if they were working to the best of their educational and professional abilities in their local job market. Don't think that child support won't take into account what each parent could be making if they were trying their best. How do overnights with the children affect the child support amount? We're asked a lot about this. Generally in Florida, the more nights you have with your children based on the parenting plan, the lower the amount of child support that you're going to pay, or the more in child support you're going to receive if all other factors remain equal. In Florida, the other main amounts that contribute the most to the child support calculation are things such as childcare for the children, the health insurance cost of each parent, the amount of health insurance for the child and who pays that amount, as well as certain deductions for taxes and alimony paid from one spouse to the other. If you are receiving alimony, that is going to increase your income in the child support calculation and cause you to receive less in child support than you would if you were not receiving alimony. So all of this talk about child support and how it works makes a lot more sense once you see how the formula goes in action, and let's take a look at that. I'm going to walk you through an example of how child support is calculated and how child support changes based on different factors. So we're using the family law software program, which is what a lot of attorneys use in a lot of different states, very common here in Florida, great program. So this is going to be the example facts here are Norma, the wife, is a nurse. She makes $50,000 a year. Todd, the husband, is a doctor. He's making $250,000 a year. They have 2 kids, and there is a 50-50 schedule, and they each have an insurance under these facts of 50-50 custody, with the wife making $50,000 and the husband making $250,000 a year, and no alimony or anything like that. The amount of child support for 2 kids is $1,874. Now, let's see what happens if we change the custody from the equal 50-50 custody to the typical divorced dad every other weekend type schedule that is usually the alternative to an equal time sharing schedule. So we made that change, just that slight adjustment in the time sharing schedule from the equal schedule to the every other weekend, 1 night a week schedule that usually is what a parent will get if not equal time sharing. And the child support jumps up to $2,478 a month from an amount that was closer to $1,800. So that change in custody is one of the things that changes the total amount of support. Let's add something else here. Let's assume that there is daycare expenses. Both these kids are young. Daycare is expensive. Here in South Florida, it's not uncommon to pay $1,500 a month for daycare of a young child. So let's assume there's $3,000 of daycare expenses that the wife is going to have to pay her local daycare, and let's see how the numbers change. So if you have the wife paying $3,000 a month to her daycare provider so that she can go and work as a nurse, then the child support jumps way up. It almost doubles. It goes up to $5,111 a month. And on the support calculation, you'll see that this $3,000 daycare expense gets split up between both the husband and the wife, and the husband gets more of the responsibility of it because his share of the total income is way higher. So alimony also affects child support when alimony is paid. And let's say that the wife is able to show that she has a need for $5,000 a month in alimony from her husband. How will child support change if the husband is paying the wife $5,000 a month in alimony? Let's take a look. So if the husband's paying $5,000 a month in alimony, the child support number drops by a couple of $1,000s. The reason for that change is because the husband's income for child support is reduced by the amount of alimony he is paying, and the wife's income is increased by the amount of alimony she is paying. So at the end of the day, the alimony increases the amount of the wife's income lowers the husband's income, and as a result of this, the child support she receives is going to drop. Generally, child support drops for every dollar of alimony you receive, but you're also receiving alimony, so overall, total support of child support and alimony, you're doing better. So this is just a little illustration. Hopefully it's helpful to show you how the custody nights a year, the incomes, the alimony, and the child care expenses all interplay in the child support formula. When you do a consultation with a good lawyer, or at least one of my law partners are going to take you through these calculations customized to your situation. Other things to know about child support in Florida. How does Florida child support work when it comes to medical expenses? This can be a big one with certain special needs children. As it relates to most people, a lot of the parenting plans or court orders are going to say that medical expenses that are coming out of pocket, the expenses that are not covered by insurance, are going to be divided by the parents based on what's called their pro rata income share. What does that mean? That means their percentage of income compared to the total income of them and their spouse. As an example, say that you are a nurse and you make $50,000 a year, and you're married to a doctor who makes $150,000 a year. In that situation, the total income of the two of you is $200,000. And since you're the nurse making $50,000 a year, that's 25% of the total income. So that is your pro rata share. So when it comes to these out-of-pocket medical expenses not covered by insurance, your pro rata share would be 25%. Usually the parent who incurs the expense is going to be reimbursed by the other party for that party's share of the expense. Does Florida child support cover kids' activities? This can be a big one, especially for kids that are heavily involved in sports, travel sports, or extracurricular activities. For these types of expenses, it's usually negotiable in the parenting plan, but the default for the court a lot of the times is to say that each parent pays their pro rata share of these expenses. Does child support cover the costs of childcare and aftercare? The answer is yes. The cost of childcare or aftercare is one of the things that is added to the Florida child support formula. And that childcare or aftercare expense is supposed to be the childcare or after expense necessary for a parent to go out and work and earn the income for which the child support is based on. It's not the cost of having the child watched so you can go out on a date after the divorce or things like that. Just childcare to allow you to go to work. It also includes some things like summer camp when school is out, things of that nature. Does child support cover private school? This comes up a lot in the more affluent communities where we practice in. And the answer is it depends. Generally, the law is that somebody has to pay for the cost of private school above and beyond what they pay in child support if two things are present. One, the child was in that private school during the marriage or the relationship. It was the normal course for the child to be in that private, more expensive school. Number two, the person who would be paying for the support has to have the financial ability to do so after the divorce or end of the relationship, when they might have different types of expenses than they had when the relationship was intact. So if your child has been going to private school and your spouse has enough money to pay for it after the case is over with, you probably can get the private school paid for, and that amount will be separate and above what the other parent pays as the base child support obligation. We get asked a lot whether child support takes into account the fact that a parent might be unemployed or underemployed. The answer is yes, it should. Child support depends on the income of both parents, so if somebody's not working up to their potential, the child support amount should be based on what the parent could be earning if they work to the best of their abilities. That has to be proven in court, but that's a theory behind the law. So there you have it. That's the basics of child support in Florida. I hope this has been helpful to you. Check out the links in the description below. We have a few more resources that I think will be helpful. We have a link to the child support statute. We have a link to the child support page on our website, as well as a few of our free divorce books that you can download from the website to help you learn more about how child support is calculated in Florida, as well as the other aspects that are involved with a divorce case. Here at the Bruce Law Firm, we focus on divorce and family law in Southeast Florida. We represent clients typically from the Vero Beach area, south to Miami, and a few other select counties in Florida. If you're at the point of where you're ready to talk to an attorney, check out the link in the description. Me or my partners are happy to have a conversation with you to help you understand how child support and the other issues might go in your specific divorce case. While we represent men and women at my law firm, we have a particular passion for representing women who are in difficult relationships with husbands that have narcissistic, controlling, or manipulative type tendencies. We enjoy those cases. It's our passion because we know when those types of marriages are over, everybody's going to be to a better place, including the children.